I don't really realize where it all began. I think I was in about the 5th grade. And you know how you go in your family thing, and my father had a Playboy. It was June, and June was busting out all over, and I went like, oh, wow. And so I sort of stayed that way, interesting. But I found that also there was always those things with people like, you know, why don't you act more like a girl? Although I did always act like a girl. But, you know, I didn't want to date. I didn't want to do that. Although I was always the, oh, so-and-so has a son, he doesn't have a date, send Michelle, because, you know, hey, it was safe. In high school, I noticed that I had girlfriends, but then it was like, it was still very closeted, and because we were teenagers, people were okay with like, experimental, you know. So, but as it went on, I realized, you know, it wasn't experimental, you know, it was real. And I had feelings for this, for the women that I was meeting. So I had really good relationships. When I went and told my mother that I was gay, my mother is my hero. I mean, she's passed on. My mother has been a mother not only to me, but to many of my friends whose family rejected them. My mother was there. It was fine, you know. She said, hey, so? My mother's favorite line was, well, it's not like you're the first. So that was just wonderful. My father, on the other side, up until shortly after my mother died, and he died 2 years later, referred to me as his Fruit Loop and her Fruit Loop friends. And I have a son. There's many times when he would question my ability to be a good mother because, you know, you're going to make him grow up and be, what's one of his nicer euphemisms, oh, light in the loafers, a sissy, and all like that. My son is, you know, straight as an arrow, go figure. But my father constantly did that, and it wasn't until after my mother died, and he ended up with me, which was not what he wanted as his caretaker. And it was, you know, he just did not want that. But after a while, we sort of hit that point to where it was like, okay, you got me. To where it was like, okay. And towards the end, he did say, you know, I hope one day you can find someone who can love you, you know, and it was okay. But it's been an up and down thing. I think that, you know, the more out I am, and I'm pretty out there, but I think I do everything passionately. I've always been a community activist. I've worked on affordable housing. I've worked with unwed mothers. I've worked with people with addiction. And at one point in time, what really made me really be out. I was an executive director for a neighborhood development corporation. And we wanted to do affordable housing for people who were living with HIV and AIDS. People living with HIV and AIDS. And one would have thought that we wanted to paint the building bright pink and put a rainbow awning out in front. And the backlash was so hard, not because they were talking about people living with AIDS, that they saw it as gay people, and they just did not want that. And it was across the street from a big institution, which said that they had people come in all the time and they didn't want them to see that building. And we ended up going to court, suing them, but what happened was things got dragged along to where now that site is a parking lot. And people who are living with HIV and AIDS still need affordable housing. So about at that point in time, it was like, you know, enough. And all the passion and energy I have, I started putting it towards LGBT issues, because guess what? LGBT issues are everybody's issues. And so after that, I'm out. I'm here. I'm here, I'm queer. And you know what? I'm real used to it.